All right, what's up, guys? It's Aztec 101 in the ring. And so I'm going live with this video. It's a response video to Michael Stott. I put Mr. Stott in the subject or whatever, but that's just because I didn't want to write down the whole name. But Michael Stott. All right, if you guys want to go check out his video. And then I'm also doing a response to Thunderdome Boxing. So, hey, what's up, Boxing Junkie? What's up, Boxing Junkie? I'm glad you're here because the whole reason why I even know about Thunderdome's video and all that was because I was watching Boxing Junkie do the original response to Thunderdome. And, you know, uh, I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to see what Boxing Junkie was talking about. So I checked out the video. It's an hour and 30 something minutes. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but you kind of don't need to because as much as I fast forward, it seemed like he was talking about the same thing over and over again. And I'll get into that in my response. But so yeah, I'm going to be responding to two different channels, and I'll tell you, which point that I'm making is in response to what video. But anyways, so Michael Stott did a direct response to Boxing Junkie, right? And so I'll start with him. I'll start with Michael Stott. There's a few things that I disagree with, but I understand where he's coming from. Check out his channel. You can watch the original video, and you can see that he makes a comparison to football. And I really don't like comparing, even if it's just an analogy to try to get my point across. I don't like using other sports as a reflection of what boxing is. But he said that moving backwards and having your back up against the ropes in boxing is a sign of weakness. And he said that it's like a football player, the quarterback gets sacked or loses yards. If you're losing yards, you're losing. And there's a lot of things that I can break up to break up that point as in like there's a few things that I could bring up that would discredit that analogy, but I understand where he's coming from. I understand what he's saying. So using that train of thought, it's bullshit to say that going backwards in football means that you're losing or you're showing a sign of weakness. You know what I mean? What's the first thing that the football offense needs to do before getting ready for a pass or tossing it back to the fullback? Where does the ball go? It goes from the center back to the quarterback. Quarterback, what do you usually see? Takes a few steps back into the pocket before he reads his offense. So in football, initially, in almost every play, the ball ends up going back. To say you take a step back is a sign of weakness doesn't even make sense for football. That's one reason why that analogy is kind of bullshit. But then again, another analogy, another reason why it's bullshit is because football is two-dimensional. It's the whole point is to go back and forth, right? And there's certain things you can't do in football. And, that analogy wouldn't make sense with other sports. Hockey, soccer, these sports you see, the ball travel backwards a lot. And it's a technical, it's almost, it's a tool. it doesn't mean that you're losing, that you're showing a sign of weakness. Sometimes you're readjusting your offense. Sometimes you're trying something else. Sometimes you're keeping the ball out of danger. Whatever. So the analogy of moving backwards and using football, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And that's kind of why I don't really compare boxing to anything else. They're not. There's a lot of things that you could see in the ring that it could look as weakness to use lateral movement. It could look like it if you're fighting a certain way, but it could also be used to set up offense. And really, you're gonna make that decision after the fight's over, whether it was used in the form of weakness or if it was used to land your own offense. And based on this fight, seeing how everyone was actually, a lot of people were entertained. The only people that seem unhappy are people that went for Golovkin hardcore. But fact of the matter is, I know a lot of people thought that this was a great fight. But there's that. And one of the main points which I'm going to deal with later against Michael Stott, or responding to Michael Stott, is ring generalship, their idea of ring generalship, and I'll talk about that later. Now I want to focus on Thunderdome Boxing. Thunderdome Boxing. He did an hour and 30 minutes on a few things. CompuBox, HBO's bias, which I thought that part was funny. And then he also went over what he felt the definition of ring generalship is. So, I guess I'll go. I'm not going to talk about in order, but I do remember Thunderdome Boxing. He was describing what Triple G was doing. And it was almost like he was describing a different fight. And then at times, the way he described the fight didn't really match the outcome that he had. According to Thunderdome Boxing, I think he said Canelo, you could say he won 2 rounds. And from his scorecard, he thinks at most, right? Canelo only won 2 rounds. And the reason why Boxing Junkie was pissed was because Thunderdome Boxing was pretty much saying, if you don't think that Triple G won wide, then you don't know how to score. You don't know anything about boxing. Overcompensating for, having to actually talk about the truth. But let's go into one of the things that he was talking about when with Triple G. He said that, the key in this fight was going to be the jab game. And he said that, Canelo did not have an answer for Triple G's jab. And it's a little bit interesting because when you watch the fight, it's pretty obvious that the one having trouble is the one trying to land the jab. Right? It looked like Triple G was having a harder time landing his jab than Canelo was of avoiding it. What's funny, when a lot of people that supported Triple G through all these years, what's funny about them right now is after the fight, they want to pretend like we don't remember all the shit talking and all the hype, right? So we're not supposed to know these fighters somehow. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Throughout the years, all we've been hearing is how Triple G's jab is a fucking power shot, how he's able to cut off the ring. He's the best in the game at stalking and cutting off the ring. His jab, you better not stand along the ropes because Triple G, apparently, he's a beast there. He can knock anyone out along the ropes. And what's funny to me is that I didn't see any of that shit in this fight. I didn't see any of that. Canelo didn't just stand in the pocket and make Triple G miss his jabs, but he also left the area that he was in. So if he was in one of the corners or along the ropes, he would leave that area whenever he wanted. The guy that was supposedly be the best guy that can cut off the ring in boxing. I mean, Triple G was hyped up as like, Jesus Christ, if he fought Lara, he would knock Lara out because he would just stalk him and cut off the ring. Canelo was a flat-footed one walking into this fight, right? So Triple G could not close off the ring against a flat-footed, blown-up junior middleweight. Doesn't make it. This is why certain things that Canelo was doing was actually impressive. It was very impressive. And it's weird when you have guys like Michael Stott saying having your back up against the ropes is a sign of weakness. The fact that we all know what Triple G is, those of us watching this fight, I think a lot of us were impressed at the fact that Canelo actually took it to the most dangerous part of the ring. Took the fight to the most dangerous part of the ring, and Triple G couldn't do shit. He couldn't do shit. He was rarely effective. Very rarely was he effective. And, this is where we're going to start talking about ring generalship. Because, Thunderdome Boxing, he was saying that, I don't know if I can remember, but, right, now I remember. Okay, so he was saying the ring general is the one that controls the center of the ring. You cannot be the ring general if you're not controlling the center of the ring. And I don't know if Michael Stott believes the same thing, but just in case this is going to be a response to both of you, simple answer is that is not true. That's a simple answer. When you say that the ring general must control the center of the ring, that is not true. Look up ring generalship. It's the one that controls the style and the pace of the fight. Right? It's the one in control of the style and pace of the fight. Now, obviously, if it was who controlled the center of the ring, well then, fuck, man. Then what? Did Cotto beat Floyd? Did Robert Guerrero beat Floyd? Because Floyd spends a lot of time along the ropes. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If it's a tool that you could utilize to win a fight, this would be a completely different game. It'd be a different sport if part of the scoring is who controls the center of the ring. There'll be a dot in the middle of the fucking ring, and you just have the fighters push each other off of it. No. It's who controls the style and the pace of the fight. And I think that this was an exchange, a battle that was constantly happening between round 1 and round 12 on who was controlling what in the fight. And Michael Stott, he was saying that, it doesn't matter whether Canelo was choosing to take a step back. It doesn't matter whether he was doing it by choice. He was saying that if you take a step back, you're losing ring generalship in that department. And that's not true. Definitely that's not true. Canelo was not just stepping back, but he was stepping forward whenever he pleased. And I'm speaking in exact terms. So like I'm saying, obviously I'm over exaggerating by saying every time Canelo wanted to do something, he was able to do it. But for the most part, when Canelo was along the ropes, Triple G wasn't able to do what he was supposed to do in an area that he does best. That to me seems like Canelo was very effective along the ropes. And then by watching the fight, you know that he was countering and putting hands on Triple G. There's other things in I can smell bullshit from a mile away. And sometimes the shit reeks so loud that it doesn't take a fucking genius to see that his anger was filled with a lot of bullshit. You know what I mean? It's misdirected anger. Doesn't know where to put this energy, so he comes up with this story. And the story is that, one, he was saying that CompuBox was bullshit. So he spent, I kind of fast forward through a lot of it, but most of the video has to do with punch stats, right? But I did watch this one part, and it's early on when he's talking about punch stats and CompuBox. He was saying that CompuBox is bullshit, and there's, I guess, I don't know if it's a YouTube channel, because I seen this channel or this video called Why Triple G Won or Beat Canelo, and the video is pretty much showing the punch stats, counting the punch stats. So as the channel sees the punches landed, it'll edit that part of the clip and add points. So you get punch stats, I guess, from this guy now. Some fucking random ass channel. I don't know how people are this obsessed where they're willing to absorb bullshit. The reason why I say it's bullshit is because all right, for those of you who are not slow, I think you're going to get this real quick. They're doing a punch stat count, right? And the video is 12 minutes long. Video is 12 minutes long. And it's counting a 12-round fight. So, if you can't smell bullshit, it's an edited video, picking and choosing. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't know. Look, maybe it's 100% correct. Maybe it's true. But at the end of the day, it already looks shady. Because it's not fucking doing a punch count for the entire fight. But, anyways, so Thunderdome Boxing says CompuBox is bullshit. And I guess that channel is the truth. And through the punch stats, it's obvious that Triple G won. I mean, if you're counting punches while you're scoring a fight, then you're not really scoring a fight. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, when you're watching the fight, you can tell which punches were flush, which ones were effective. You can tell when punches were set up properly, and you can see which punch miss. That's very important because we saw Triple G miss more than he's ever missed. Let's get one thing straight. There's never been anyone that has performed this well against Triple G. Now, that's not a reason to give the fight to Canelo. But let's not act like Triple G was in full control of the entire fight. And to say that Canelo only won 2 rounds, I call bullshit on that. So, I think Thunderdome Boxing is overcompensating a little bit in this one. He's reaching. But honestly, I think no matter what would have happened, like Canelo would have had to knock out Triple G for him to admit that Triple G lost that fight. You know what I mean? He's having a hard time admitting that this is even a close fight. But whatever. I think there's a few interesting things that he did bring up. It's a long video, but it's funny to watch from my perspective. I kind of laugh at a few things, but I know some people might take what he says personal, because I mean, he's pretty much saying that if you scored it close or you scored it towards Canelo, that you don't know shit about boxing. So, that's kind of harsh. But anyways, just to make it clear, I had it for Canelo. I had a 7-5 first. And then I rewatched a few rounds, and I have that video up, and I rewatched a few rounds and switched some back and forth, and turns out I ended up with 8-4 Canelo. So, I don't know, I'm fairly confident that Canelo won the fight. It doesn't matter. The draw, I'm not mad at it. I'm not. So, let's see here. Oh, Boxing Junkie. What's up, man? I wasn't reading the comment section. You had it 7-5 Canelo? Yeah, me too, man. At first I had it 7-5, and then I switched a few rounds around, and then I changed it. Actually, I think I have. Actually, I think I have I think I wrote it down on this notepad. Shit, I can't find it. Wait, here we go. So I gave Canelo the first 6 rounds. At first I had Triple G winning number 3, third round, and then watched it again and saw that Canelo was winning, was in control for most of the round. So not just landing the harder shots, but also making Triple G miss a lot. That was actually a good round for Canelo. And then, then there was that situation in round 7 where I first gave it to Canelo, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, shit, that looks like a Triple G round. So I gave it to Triple G. It looked pretty obvious. Triple G actually had a good round 7. So there's a few rounds that I switch around, But at the end of the day, I mean, I could see this a close fight, absolutely. So I'm not even mad if you think Triple G won. I'm not mad at that, but it's funny that, you got the whole world saw a close fight. The whole world saw a close fight. And then you got Thunderdome Boxing over here talking about how the only thing that makes sense is Triple G winning. He doesn't see a close fight. He actually thinks that HBO and the media is against Triple G because he's from Eastern Europe, and the media just does not like him. HBO doesn't like him. They have something against him, and they want to push the American or the Mexican. It's kind of laughable because we're not really seeing that from HBO. Actually, when you watch that fight, it's kind of obvious that HBO had a lot of Golovkin fans working that fight. Letterman's scorecard was bullshit. If he was one of the judges, his scorecard could have determined the fight. Triple G would have won, and he would have had a wide fucking scorecard. Bullshit scorecard. And then you got Max Kellerman, who's a big Triple G fan. Man, it was just it was obvious. The commentary, everything. I don't know. I think it's funny that he brought it up as if it was obvious that HBO had it out for Triple G when, to be honest, it looks like Triple G was favored in this fight, even leading up to the fight. And then based on the commentary and the way that they, Letterman scored, and just based on all that, it just looks like they were favoring Triple G, and they kind of gave him a few more rounds than they should have, and that kind of led into also what was going on afterwards when they go out and they put their opinion out. They do admit that they saw a close fight anyways, and they could see how the audience could see it go either way. You know what I mean? But to Thunderdome Boxing, to him, that was kind of like he thought that those guys were backpedaling, because he couldn't see this as a close fight. He thought Triple G dominated. He thought Triple G dominated the whole fight. That shit's funny to see how dedicated some of these Triple G fans are, where you see a completely different fight, where you change the definitions of rules, and you'll even backpedal on your own opinion. It's kind of insane. Yeah, Lampley, Jim Lampley too. Fucking Lampley, man. I'm surprised he didn't cry. Him missing was big. The combinations, all Canelo. Yeah, I mean, Triple G did land more punches. Let's get that straight. Like, I understand that, right? But as you're watching the fight, you see that there's punches that count. They're reach finder jabs. They're jabs that like let you find your distance. You're not using it like you normally would, right? And they're ineffective. They're really ineffective unless you're able to use it to set up something else. But even then, the power shot it's always the trump card. That's always the 3-pointer. That's worth more. And Triple G landed a lot of jabs. He landed a lot of punches, but that's when he was trying to find his distance. The punches that landed that seemed effective were far in between, and but it doesn't really matter how you say it. The proof is in the fight. Proof's in the fight. Go watch the fight. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you, like, some of these guys, they probably don't want to see the rematch, and they won't watch the fight again. Because I'm telling you, when you watch it, it just does not look good for Triple G. Especially if you know the legend of Triple G, right? Let's see here. Trying to check my comments. The boxing junkie says Triple G or die. Thunderdome Boxing also brought up something that I'm gonna bring up in another video. So he said that that even after the fight, Canelo fans or Mexicans. No, he didn't say Canelo fans. He did say there was one Canelo fan that he saw that said that he was embarrassed for wearing the Canelo shirt, whatever. But he was saying that all the Mexicans were saying that Triple G won, right? And I'll talk about that in another video because that's a new phenomenon. What I'm seeing now, the Mexican being sold the Eastern European fighter and the Mexican buying it. It's a phenomenon. I'm telling you, and I'll go into that a little bit deeper in another video, but let's see here. I think I wrote something down. Wanted to go over. Let's see. Yeah, I think I did write it down. Where is it? Somewhere around here. I know I wrote something. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about was yeah, I guess I want to finish off talking about ring generalship. I hear a lot of people say that it's the one that controls the center of the ring, but you got to really control every situation you're in. Sometimes you're along the ropes, and you have to be in control, and you have to be able to control every part of the ring. And that also means that if you're the stalker, the stalker, his job's not done just because you have an opponent in front of you. You're supposed to use that style to eventually land punches. And if the opponent in front of you is still making you miss, you are not effective. So it was a battle back and forth. But then there was the situations where Triple G's punch output forced Canelo to tire out, because that body movement, he can only keep it up for a few rounds straight. But he kept playing with it. At the end of the day, he was still using it throughout all 12 rounds. But then, there were sparks, different rounds where he just let his hands go. And it doesn't matter where he was in the ring, if he was in the corner or whatever, Canelo was able to go wherever he wanted. The style of the fight, this is another thing I noticed. How I was talking about, we already know what Triple G fights like. Like, we already know who Triple G is, especially those of us following boxing. Most of us have been following Triple G before it was even popular to follow Triple G. So we know who Triple G is. But some of these guys, what's funny is we know that they've been watching boxing, and they act like they didn't know who Canelo was. And the reason why I say that is because they find it surprising that Canelo played the role of the counterpuncher. I heard Thunderdome Boxing say that Canelo fought to survive. He fought to survive. He didn't fight to win. He said that Canelo didn't want to exchange with Triple G. That the fight would have even been better if Canelo would have stood in front of Triple G and pushed forward. But I mean, to me, I feel like, well, if that's what you expected, then you were, I guess, expecting Triple G versus Triple G. You know what I mean? And that's not the fight we were promised. We were promised Canelo versus Triple G. And if you've seen Canelo fight, he's a fucking counterpuncher. That's it. He's a counterpuncher. You know what I mean? I mean, how did people not see this coming? The fact that he was going to fight off his back foot. The whole point of it is he stood in front of Triple G, and Triple G was still effective in spurts. Sometimes he was effective, but they came far in between. For the most part, he was just trying to land something. Triple G looked so frustrated in this fight. I'm telling you, I've never seen anybody perform like this against Triple G. It's almost to the point where people are like, even after that fight, they're saying that Triple G's done. That he's done. Like, waiting till May. By then, Triple G's an old man. There's no way. That shit's crazy. That shit's crazy. In 8 months, they think he's going to age to the point where he's done. It's almost taking away from like the value of the fight, because the whole point of the fight was you were going to take two great fighters in their prime, and they were going to fight each other, and they're going to fight for the best middleweight. And we ended up getting a really good fight that was really competitive. And because it didn't turn out to be a blowout in Triple G's favor, they're upset. So there's a lot of misdirected anger. See the comment sections. They're mad at everyone. They're mad at the commission for having that judge there to score the fight. They're mad at the promoters. They're mad at Canelo. They're mad at HBO. They're fucking mad at the LDBC. They're mad at everyone. They're mad at everyone. People that had nothing to do with what the fuck happened. Conspiracies fucking thought out to the point where they're using a 12-minute video as their punch stat count, as an official punch stat count, and saying that CompuBox is 100% bullshit. But at the end of the day, they still are using punch stats to justify their reasoning for, who won the fight. Because Lord knows you don't really want to have the video in front of them and you guys score the fight together. Because then you're just going to have to call bullshit on what they're seeing. So, of course, they like that little edited version. They don't want to see the whole fight. But, let's see here. The boxing junkie. What happened to him cutting off the ring effectively? Man, that's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching the fight. The entire time, I was thinking, and I would see it in the third round. Canelo started getting comfortable along the ropes. Because first 2 rounds, he tried to keep it in the center of the ring. But then he moved to the ropes, got comfortable there, started playing. And I thought, oh shit, Triple G's gonna take advantage of this position. He's gonna do something. And Canelo would just get in and out wherever he wanted to go. He never really looked like he was in danger at all. It would look like Triple G would catch him, maybe catch him with a shot that, Canelo didn't expect. But even the punches that Triple G landed, they would either just barely land. There were a few clean shots here and there, but very, very few. Very few. Shit, I think there's a part of the fight where Canelo lands a 5-punch combination. 5-punch combination. Jesus Christ. Let's see here. Ramon Correa, what's up, man? ESPN, HBO were so unprofessional after the fight. Yeah, they were. You know what though? It's one thing to have the proof, right? You have the proof, and then you can raise the question. You can say, well, what happened to the scorecard? It seems like, did they have an off night? What happened? But it seemed like a direct attack to boxing because it's not like it's just affecting this fight. But you're really making it seem, by calling this corruption, automatically you're painting a label on boxing 100% across the board. And it's not even solving the problem. It's not going to do anything to solve the problem. What you're going to end up doing, all you're doing is talking shit on the sport that makes you money without you having all the information, all the facts together. Now, if you have all the facts, bring it up, because now you can back up what you say. And Teddy Atlas was saying a lot of shit, like where you said, if you sat down and you listened to what he said, you go, yeah, man, that's some real shit. That's some real shit what he was saying, man. Yeah, follow the money. That sounds good, right? But did he actually follow the money? Like, did he do that? Did he do that and then come to the conclusion, like, she was obviously paid by Golden Boy? No. No. So that's where the unprofessionalism comes out. And what's funny is that ESPN, they really didn't know what to do with Teddy Atlas because he came in so hard. Like, it was kind of funny to watch him because Teddy Atlas was pretty much making the story for them. They just kind of give him the mic and they're like, "Hey, tell us how you feel." And it made for good TV because a lot of people are going to relate to what he's saying. But this does hurt boxing. It hurts boxing, and it hurts ticket sales more than it hurts pay-per-views. Because you can still convince someone if you give them a good story, give them a good fighters, you can still convince someone to buy the next pay-per-view. But it's going to be very hard to convince people to go on Ticketmaster, buy an expensive ticket months before the fight is out, and then when the fight's ready to go, you have to drive out to the venue, sit with all these people, and you probably paid more, twice as much as if you would have just bought it through pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the one that goes to the fight is very committed, and in order to keep that committed fan base, or at least give people an incentive to go, you can't tell them that everything's bullshit. Make them think like this is WWE. You can tell people that WWE is bullshit. That's what they go for. They already know that it's fake. They know what they're getting, right? And they love it. But boxing, it's not bullshit. So we can't tell them that it is. Can't tell them that it is and sell it as that. At the end of the day, let's see here. Boxing junkie Atlas had a stroke. Man, the vein in his forehead looked like it was gonna pop. I swear. He was just yelling into the microphone, like. Let's see here. They made boxing look bad. Boxing was hurt bad. I mean, as this continues, it's more about what's a good story, right? So obviously, Judge had a bad night. Even if the judge had a good reason on why she favored Canelo for all those rounds, even if she had a good reason, it doesn't matter. That story doesn't sell. You know what sells? What would sell? Triple G got robbed. Triple G got robbed. And then people will go, why would they rob him? And you have the backstory. Well, Canelo's camp, the promotional company, Golden Boy, did something. That's pretty much what he was saying. He was saying that by you saying it's corruption, you're pretty much blowing up a conspiracy theory, right? Two people conspiring together to get a job completed. So, conspiracy theory. Sometimes conspiracy theories are true, like we all know that boxing has a very corrupt history. Like we can't ignore or pretend like it's not a possibility or it's not something that happened before. But right now in this day and age, social media era, the way the media flows to people, you have to be very careful with what you're saying because people have a short attention span. They're in and out of certain topics, and if you give them a reason to back out of boxing, they'll move on to something else. There's always football season. There's always, NCAA shit, college sports. There's a lot of shit that they could be watching. And It hurts the sport. You know, one thing I noticed too, though, is that one thing I noticed was um, there's like almost a how would I put this? Like there's this lie that they're telling themselves that HBO is trying to push the American or the Mexican, but the Western fighter over the Eastern European, right? But you know, you do see HBO clearly giving a lot more attention, a lot more credibility to Lomachenko than they have done to Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward, um, you know, or even when they had Guillermo Rigondeaux. You know, they really didn't appreciate who they had in front of them. But Lomachenko, on the other hand, they love Lomachenko. Kovalev. You know, HBO really had a big part in Kovalev's career. And they pushed Kovalev. And Triple G is one of them too. So there's kind of like, you know, sometimes there's a point where I would say, well, yeah, it does kind of favor you if you're from America, or if you're Mexican, or, you know, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it. That might benefit you, you know, selling tickets or trying to get a hometown fan base. You know, if you come to California, go to Texas, you know, you can really have a really good career there selling out venues and shit. But Eastern European might end up having to fight just a little bit harder to be able to get that kind of fan base. But at the end of the day, that's no different than, you know, any other fighter coming from anywhere else. At the end of the day, I am seeing that HBO has been pushing very hard the Eastern European fighter. Like they're spending a lot of time and a lot of money pushing these fighters. And I don't know. I honestly, the other part of the video that I'm gonna have coming up is where I'm gonna be talking about how HBO is selling Mexicans the Eastern European fighter. Now, all I'm saying is that if you like, you know, Triple G, that's fine, and you're Mexican, or you're a big fan of Lomachenko. Like, I get it. I'm a bigger fan of Lomachenko than I am of Triple G, but at the end of the day, you know, there's also, you know, so much that they can sell me on. Like, you're not gonna sell me the whole Mexican style shit. And again, like, I'm kind of holding back from talking about it. I'm trying to pick my words because I don't want to ruin the next video by talking about it now. I think it deserves its own segment. But I'll go over that. I'll go over, you know, the whole Mexican style and the way I feel about it, because it was a marketing ploy. Um, let's see here. The boxing junkie. You're saying the Great White Hope, I guess. I mean, you know, it could be a little bit of that. Could be a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. A lot of it could also be maybe Russians are investing into the sport and we don't know about it. There's some back end shit. You know, if there is a possibility of money having influence in boxing, and you're saying boxing is corrupt, then why wouldn't, these organizations be accepting money from investors that are trying to push Eastern European fighters as top athletes around the world? And that's also a possibility, And it just seems so like a uniform way that they're approaching this. So it doesn't really feel like the great white hype, because there's some white boxers that are coming out of the the United States, and HBO really isn't investing that much time into them. So it seems very specific to the Eastern European fighter. I would imagine that if it was all about the great white hype and all that, they probably would have taken really good care of Chris Algieri, and used him as an opportunity to launch that project, because even if Chris Algieri has a short career, you can still extend it out just a little bit by having him fight bums and look really good doing it. Kind of like how they're doing with Triple G. Lomachenko's taking a rough route, so I have my eye on Lomachenko, and I think that fight with Guillermo Rigondeaux, I give him a lot of props for taking that fight, and vice versa. I give props to Guillermo Rigondeaux for moving up and demanding that fight. So good for both of them. But Triple G, he kind of he missed out on some opportunities. He could have done what Rigondeaux did, what Canelo did, what Andre Ward did, what Floyd did, what Pacquiao did. Pacquiao gets a lot of credit for moving up in weight. It's not like people are asking for Triple G to go up to heavyweight, but he's never attempted to move up and fight someone bigger than him. And even though he was cleaning out the division, even though he was just beating everybody, and we really couldn't think of any other fighter that would put up a good fight. Maybe Daniel Jacobs and maybe Kid Chocolate at one point. But at the end of the day, he did look like the baddest motherfucker at 160. But there was no intention for him to test his limits and fight someone heavier. I mean, Lomachenko's doing a little bit more than Triple G. I mean, it's do or die now for Triple G. It's do or die because Canelo already went 12 rounds with you, so there's the confidence factor. You missed a lot, right? And that could drain your confidence. And then you also had, in your opinion, a shaky decision. So now you feel like you can't win on the scorecard. Might force you to take certain risks when you don't need to. So all these things can play a factor in Triple G's fighting style going in. And it seems like everything lies on will Canelo just use what he already figured out in the first fight and just win more rounds doing that. It's pretty much all he has to do. Whatever he did in the first fight, do more of that. Right? Triple G can't play that game. He can't go in there. He already gave it his all. You know what I mean? He gave it his all. The only thing that he can do is change his game plan. He's going to have to come in a little bit different and approach this fight different. He's going to have to cut off the ring on Canelo. He's going to have to make sure that his jab isn't just being thrown, to try to land something. It's got to, he's got to be more accurate with his jabs and set up those jabs a lot better, because you're not fighting, Lemieux. You're not fighting Lemieux. You're fighting Canelo. Canelo has head movement. We've already seen this. I don't know why Triple G fans act surprised when they saw Canelo use head movement and counter off those shots. They act surprised. Like, they wanted Canelo to stand there toe-to-toe, just like Triple G fights, and want it to be, that kind of fight. But that's not Canelo's style. So I don't know why people are surprised. The boxing junkie, Triple G was collecting belts in the shit division. That's true, man. You can give him a certain amount of props for how many title defenses he has. You know what I mean? And obviously he's a really good fighter. He's a great fighter. But the hype behind him just doesn't match what in reality what he's capable of doing. By that I mean, like, he just hasn't had, like, this is the first major fight. Canelo's the best opponent he's ever had. Canelo's the best opponent he's ever had, and this is his toughest fight. He did not win this fight clearly. He did not. The judges saw different fights. The people in the crowd saw different fights. People watching at home, they all saw different fights. So at the end of the day, he didn't win convincingly. So it's a little bit, I guess, easier to fight this time for Triple G, maybe. Like, maybe he might come in with a little bit of confidence because he's felt Canelo's power. He's seen how fast Canelo moves. Maybe they can study the fight, and maybe they can come up with a better game plan. But they're eventually going to have to come to the conclusion of fixing the mistakes that they made and being able to, one thing that he would have to fix is being able to close off the ring. That's kind of weird saying it. Every time I say Triple G did not close the ring off on Canelo, I always kind of surprise myself that I have to say it, because I would have never imagined Canelo outmove Triple G. So, at the end of the day, if they're going to do this fight again, there's holes in Triple G's game that they're going to have to close up. They can't do the same thing that he did in this fight, because they're going to get lit up. They're going to get lit up. And if they fight again, there could be a knockout. And, man, I can't wait. Hopefully they do this before May. It was fun to watch Canelo, May and September. But to be honest, as a boxing fan, I would rather you fight as soon as possible. Like, fuck your health. Fuck your family. Fuck your free time. I want to see you back in the ring ASAP. So, if it were up to me, it'd be fucking signed, ready to go for January. But, I don't know. So, I've been on this shit for a long time already. I'm a little tired. Been smoking a little bit of weed, and it hit me a little bit harder than I thought it would. So I'm a bit slow-mo right now. Yeah, this was my response video. I didn't really go in on anyone. Kind of went easy. But maybe tomorrow when I drink my coffee, I'll feel like maybe tomorrow I'll do that video on HBO Mexican style and all that shit. All right, guys. So I'm gonna head out, go to sleep. Fucking tired. All right, guys. Thanks, Boxing Junkie, for showing up. Also, shout out to Ramon. This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.